During this Connected Investor Success Short, you'll hear 3 real estate investing pros explain exactly how to implement the strategies that made them millionaires. Brought to you by PrivateLenders.com, where real estate investors go to get private funding for all of their real estate investments. Make sure to check out the links in the description of this video for full lessons and free giveaways. Let's get started. I'd like to introduce you to the one, the only, Jeff Levin. Jeff, thank you so very much for talking with us.
Thanks for having me, Ross.
All right, everyone. Before we started, we broke down investing in commercial real estate into 3 main steps here. Step number 1, your end game. Step number 2, the financing. And step number 3, the location. So, Jeff, let's talk about the end game. We're starting at the end, working our way backwards. Kind of talk me through the conversations individuals need to have with themselves and with the people they're investing with.
So I'm going to share a personal story, and I do that often. When I bought my first multifamily building, I had to know what the end game was. And as we all know, the money, when you make money in real estate, the money is made when you buy it. You monetize it when you sell it, but you make money on the buy. My end game was, number 1, to buy it. Number 2, to secure financing. Number 3, to refinance, and the financing was hard money, to refinance it using traditional bank financing. So I had a game plan. So I knew my end game was buy it, stabilize, traditional financing, and I knew I wanted to sell it at some point in time. So I had a roadmap that I drew for myself.
Financing. All right. So we know our end game. Can you talk me through some of the financing options for someone who's just getting involved?
In terms of financing options, there's hard money, private lending, there's traditional bank financing, which is everybody's first choice. You can also do creative financing. One of the things a lot of people do, and a lot of things and a lot of deals I see, seller financing. And besides that, OPM, other people's money, investors. And those are the main points.
So, Jeff, let's talk about the last step here, the location. Location. Why don't you go ahead and talk about why that's so important?
You've said it in 3 words: location. You can't beat location, which is why, and that's what I base my investment philosophy on. Location, the properties that I own in Washington, D.C., near the U.S. Capitol. Why the U.S. Capitol? Because they're not making any more land.
Jeff, let me ask you a question here. Could someone, or did you actually really get into commercial real estate without having to use any of their own cash or credit?
So the answer is it's possible. It is possible. There are a lot of people out there talking about no money down, buy commercial real estate without using your own funds. A way a lot of people start, as you know, Ross, is they wholesale.
The Connected Investors app connects you with investors, notifies you of available properties, helps locate cash buyers, and secure private funding to close deals. Set up in seconds to become a member of the Connected Investors social network. Now you can scroll through your main feed to find cash buyers, see investment properties not available to the general public, and network with investors by adding your own comments to a thread to keep the conversation going. The Control Center is your connection to add properties to sell, start new discussions, connect with local investors, and even find private funding. The Notifications tab will keep you alerted to new investment properties and offers. You'll also find new friend requests to connect directly with the community to build your network. From the property marketplace, you'll be able to find, favorite, and make offers on investment properties. Download Connected Investors today to find, figure, fund, and flip investment properties on the go.
Prior to his career as a real estate rock star, he worked in the Air Force and was a sales executive. I'd like to introduce you to the one, the only, Shaun Young. All right, so we broke down micro flipping into 3 steps that Shaun's going to teach you exactly how he does it. Step number 1 is to determine your market. Step number 2 is to locate the property. And step number 3 is to match up that property with a potential buyer. So we're going to dive into each of those. Shaun, let's go ahead and talk about how you determine your market.
Guys, the first thing you want to do is I would suggest starting locally. Um, some people say, go out, wherever you want, but my suggestion, if you want success, is to kind of start within your local market. Now, if you live in a town or a city that has 1,000, people there, definitely try to find the next nearest big city that's nearby. But guys, determining your market is super duper important, because if you don't start off with the right market, you could kind of discourage yourself and make yourself think this is a lot harder than it is.
Now let's go ahead and talk about step number 2, which is locating the properties. I'm just going to let you go ahead and talk about how you do that.
Sure. Guys, again, Penn is a phenomenal source and a phenomenal tool to do just what Ross just said, locating the properties. With inside of Penn, there's filters that you can literally filter out to get any kind of property you want, whether those are vacant properties, bank-owned properties, pre-foreclosures, um, flippers, landlords. I mean, you guys can find and flippers and landlords will be more on your buyer side, but as far as locating the properties, guys, you can literally drill down and identify any type of property source in any area of the country that you want to find it in.
So we talked about finding the deals.
Mhm.
Why don't you talk about the types of deals? Like, go through each type and just let the listeners know, why is a vacant house good?
Sure. Well, guys, I usually try to stack my list when I look for things. I try to combine things like maybe a distressed property, code violations, vacant. Those are the main sources that I go after. Code violations, vacant properties, tax liens, probates.
Well, Shaun, I'm going to ask you actually the most important question now.
Sure.
What do you think your life would be like if you never stepped into real estate and stayed as your job as a sales executive?
I think that I'd be stressed out every day. I'd be highly stressed, worrying about if I'm, doing what I've got to do to stay on the, on the boss's good side, or if I'm, in my situation, guys, I was actually one of the top producers in the company nationwide when I was laid off. My whole division was laid off, so I'd be in a bad place, in a place that I just would not want to be. My mind has shifted so far from being an employee that I couldn't imagine being employable again.
His name is Doug Mainers, and today he is going to explain exactly how to have conversations with motivated sellers. What would you say the 3 steps are for doing this?
Well, Ross, the beauty of it is there are 3 kind of main categories or 3 steps that you walk through, the building blocks, we call it, of a conversation. Because you mentioned at the top of the call, conversation is the key. And so there's certain techniques and things you can use in that conversation to build rapport with individuals and, build their trust, take time. Many times it's just a matter of listening. You mentioned conversation, but listening to individuals, and that's key. But the 3 steps when you first get started, you want to be able to establish a credibility with them, okay? Establish some credibility and interest with them. That's number 1. Number 2, that's kind of your introduction. You're introducing yourself. That's number 1. Number 2, discovery. You want to learn more about each other. You're sharing, obviously what you can do, what you do to help them, but also you're listening and understanding what, they need. And so I think that's key. And last but not least is qualifying, because a lot of these motivated seller leads, may need to be qualified. Are they a good prospect right now? And that's what I mentioned earlier. You always want to leave the door open. Even if they're not ready to sell now, it's hey, great, no problem. Hey, I'm here to help you anytime in the future. Here's my contact information. You always leave that door open. But many times, if you work through these 3 steps, people want to move forward. They're excited that they have somebody on the phone with them that can give them a solution to their problem. And man, they're super pumped about it.
Can you tell me how you think your life would be if you never left teaching, if you were still a teacher?
Well, Ross, that's a valid point here. Teaching, I love to teach. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. My students enjoyed me. I enjoyed them. I had a very strict classroom, but we also had a lot of fun. And so one thing about that is that, I still enjoy teaching. And so I enjoy having the opportunity to teach, investing, some of the things that I do. But I tell you, a teacher, and I could be the first one to tell you I have the highest respect for teachers, and they just don't get paid enough. And so unfortunately, for what they have to do and the things that they do, the teaching salary just isn't there.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I got started in real estate. I just wasn't making enough money as a teacher. And so I had to look for additional income streams. And so I was able to start real estate part-time. And honestly, Ross, when I was thinking about different income potential, there's just nothing else out there other than real estate that pays like it does for the amount of time that you devote to it. It's just unbelievable. As you mentioned, when you start making as much money part-time as you make full-time, it's time to make a change, in terms of real estate investing. So, that was what I did. And obviously my life has been dramatically changed. We've been able to travel and do things and give more and support things that causes we believe in, and provide my girls with a college education. I don't have, my girls don't have student loans. We're paying all that. And so these are the kind of things that we're able to do that real estate investing has afforded me the opportunity to do that I would have never been able to do.
You can also throw your name into a drawing to win our $3,000 software called PIN that pinpoints all of the best deals in any market and all of the most active buyers and private lenders as well. So it's the one piece of software you need to find any type of deal, whether it's an apartment complex or a single family house. If you're looking for it, it's inside PIN, and we're going to give it to one of our lucky listeners who visit exactlyhow.com. If you're watching this live, go ahead and go there right now. We haven't picked the name yet. Throw your name into the hat and you might be walking away with this software.